call to order at 7:04, it looks like. And our first order of business is approval of the board minutes from October 4th meeting. Has everyone had a chance to look through those?
I have looked through them and I find them acceptable. So I would make a motion to approve the minutes for the October 4th, 2022 meeting.
Gabe, second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Abstain.
Oh.
Who's abstaining?
I wasn't at the meeting.
That-
I
Oh, that's
Dan Hare is
fair.
abstaining.
Dan's
Yeah.
abstaining. Okay. All right,
Dan
well,
Dan
motion-
abstains from a lot of things.
All
Mm,
right. Motion passes. We do not have a treasurer's report and Russell is not here. So we'll move on. Do we have website and social media updates?
Just a couple of minor updates on the websites as far as content, but that was it. I corrected a couple of things. Somehow it got by me the first 20,000 times I looked at the website and cleaned it up. That's all. Angela, anything to say about Facebook?
No, it's been pretty quiet lately. Let's see how many members we currently have here. We have 1,801 members on our Facebook group. So that's pretty cool.
We saw a couple of upticks when the fireworks during the summer, and then recently after the Lidford Park area started their neighborhood watch, that got more attention to it as well. So they're now actually part of the. So I did actually add. I can't remember if I did it before or after, but I added the neighborhood watch for the Lidford watch to the website
Mhm.
too, with their
Yeah.
own form.
All right. Well, let's keep with this moving then. Old business would be Orange Gate Park and Pipeline Trail. Larry reported 9.5 volunteer hours and Scott Bird 1 hour. And is there anything else that you wanted to say tonight, Larry?
Yeah, a couple of things. There is a gentleman on 46th Avenue who's in his 80s. First name Hugh, I'll just mention that. He's been doing a lot of picking up of garbage around Orange Gate and along 46 outside of Orange Gate. And he's really willing to do that. However, I have not been able to get him to send me his dates and hours so I can add him onto the volunteer sheet that I send in each month. But just to know that there's at least another person out there. We did have a major dump last week where Pipeline Road crosses 84th. I contacted Tacoma Water because it was not on the shoulder of the road. It was more towards the gate. So that's been taken care of. And I just got a report today that possibly just west of us on 80th, there might be a car's transmission that might have been dumped into the ditch on the side of the road. So I'll check that out tomorrow.
Did they get
Other
rid
than
of
that-
that? Larry, did that Ford with the popped tires? I think it was a Ford truck. Maybe it was a Chevy. I don't know. I don't pay attention that closely, but it had the tires were blown out. Did that get towed away yet? It's been there for a while.
Yeah, that's gone.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but by the time I saw it coming back from Spokane, there were no wheels or tires on the vehicle at all.
Well,
And within a couple of days, it had been, I noticed that it had been checked, so I didn't need to call. And within a couple of days, it was gone.
Okay. Current business then, Pierce County Comprehensive Plan.
I don't have any new updates on that. I know that Pierce County Planning Department is still working on a lot of the elements of that to get it ready for draft publication probably sometime next year, but I don't have any current updates. I do know that will probably be interest of this group. Hold on just one second. Let me make sure I'm reading this correctly before I speak too far out of turn here. When Angie Silva came to talk to us last month, we didn't really talk specifically about how in the comp plan, the county is going to be trying to meet the zoning kind of growth requirements within Pierce County. One of the things that they are looking at in the comp plan update and the associated environmental impact statement are alternatives intended to reduce capacity and slow growth within the UGA. So only those areas within the urban growth boundary. So right now they're looking at investigating what areas might be suitable for down zoning or either removal from the urban growth boundary. So those areas would have a couple of specific features. They would have natural features that make it suitable for open space conservation or suitable for only very low intensity development. And that's rural separator aside, they're looking at other areas within the UGA. So the other thing too is if there's an area that has a vested project or is being considered for capital investments or infrastructure improvements, that would result in suburban or urban levels of development. So one of the things they're looking at is, are there areas that are kind of already meeting those requirements that they could essentially keep low zoning intensity and or remove them from the UGA altogether. So that is work that is happening over the next couple of months that I think this group in particular would be interested in following. So as that happens, I'll let you know what I hear. And I may be making some phone calls to some of you if I have any questions, or if maybe there's some specific parcels or specific kind of areas that they're looking at. I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated.
Question.
Yes.
If an urban area is removed from the UGA, where does it go?
Outside the
become-
UGA. I don't know exactly what that means, Dan.
Does it become rural?
Well, I guess it becomes whatever the rest of the parcels are that are outside the UGA, which is non-UGA boundary. I don't know how to.
Becomes incorporated.
It could. Well,
Like
but in this,
South Hill's considering incorporation. So say South Hill
yes,
incorporated, it would move out of the UGA.
yes, but I think these are for purposes of. Oh, I guess you might be right, Marty, because I'm thinking we're going to down zone it. So if it's like a wetland area or a floodplain or something that's already kind of not really suited for development, we could say, that's a mulligan. We can take that out of the UGA. But I mean, I guess it could get incorporated to another city, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's
Out of the UGA.
appropriate to then develop because
Yeah,
it's outside the UGA.
I have a different spin on it. Obviously, there you have the unincorporated areas of Pierce County. Some of those areas are within the UGA.
Correct.
If you have within the UGA right now an area that is not suitable for high intensity urban development, You can't put it in the rural because you'll have a bunch of rural spots everywhere. I think what they would do is probably take those areas out of the UGA and just leave them to be unincorporated Pierce County. Not that it would become a city necessarily, because if you have those particular areas here and there scattered about, you couldn't make a city out of each one of those, but you could take it out of the UGA and potentially put it just back into the unincorporated, the growth area, but not the UGA.
Yeah, and I'm actually taking a peek at some of the currently proposed areas that the team is thinking about adding to this list of, hey, this may not be suitable for upzoning. It could be downzoned, or it could be taken out of the UGA. I mean, they're kind of little blocks and little chunks of land, between the Riverside community in Puyallup, for example, or there's one out in Frederickson, a little chunk out in Graham, a little bit in South Hill. There's just kind of some spots that are kind of sprinkled throughout each community that I don't think that means then Puyallup, but then incorporate it. I think it would remain an unincorporated Pierce County.
At a lower intensity.
Yes,
density.
correct. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
This matter is coming before the Mid-County Advisory Commission soon.
Yeah.
So I'll have a chance to look at that. My understanding that as far as the rural separator goes, and Marty, maybe you can help me with this if you could. Do you know of any changes to the rural separator? Are there any pending proposals?
We had a series of changes and recommendations that we sent. There was one that touched a rural separator property or whatever, and council removed that for reconsideration. So none of the properties that the council sent for reconsideration in the 2024 are in the rural separator.
And so the deadline for changes has now passed.
I believe so. At least the deadline as far as the council. I don't know if there's there always seems to be another path here or there, but the path I'm most aware of, it's come and gone, and no rural separator properties are on it for reconsideration.
Okay, Angela, you made some SEPA inquiries some time ago. Were those related to the update, or was that something else?
You mean the comment letter that we sent in?
Yes.
That was for the SEPA EIS. That's correct.
That was for this plan update, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I think now as far as rural separator, probably kind of over the hump to where we may not have to worry about it much now. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And in fact, I was able to sit in a meeting that was related. So all the comments that came in during the scoping period were broken up by topic. They were delineated by, element or topic, and they were kind of split amongst the staff, and they've been working on addressing those. And some excerpts from our letter made it into those discussions. And I said, well, because I actually authored that letter, I can't tell you how to respond to it. So I'm going to, put on my Pierce County hat and sit neutral as you respond. But I said, I gave some context as some of the reasoning behind our comments. And again, the rural separator was a big one. And we talked about in our letter, we specifically said that we wouldn't approve or wouldn't support putting any sewer extensions through the rural separator. In fact, that really shouldn't happen based on some other documentation. And the staff was very knowledgeable and aware of that, and I have the rural separator in mind as they're thinking about it. I always make sure that comes up, but I think they're very aware that rural separator is kind of off the table for a lot of these proposals, but they are thinking about it, and it is being considered as those discussions happen. So,
well, my final comment, it's off the table because it's rural, and you're talking about UGA, that excludes rural. So simple as that.
Yep.
Sorry for cutting you off, Don.
I've got a quick, where streets and roads, they were part of the comprehensive plan that she talked about. Is that correct?
Streets and roads.
Yeah, access egress out of the comprehensive planning area.
Yeah, transportation is definitely an element that they will look at, yes. Yeah.
Okay, but Marty's in here. I got a question for him regarding that, and it's been brought up before. When the decision was made to not go through with the cross-space corridor tying Frederickson into I-5 in the DuPont area, it was kind of just drop for no funding available. Well, what is the real story behind that? Because I think that is an important consideration as an avenue to increase the flow of traffic, and to say, if they're gonna look at $10 million study for the north end of Canyon Road, well, what is the considerations of bringing the cross-space corridor back to life?
I would say that's probably not gonna happen. I think I think at the end, the military doesn't want it. And so, I think that they had changes and that they're not real, thrilled about it. And the state has walked away from supporting it. So it doesn't really have any champion because neither the federal government nor the state want to put funding into it.
Okay, I'll accept that then. That answers the question. Thank you.
And the tiny village or community first village that the executive proposed, it's the land that's right beyond where Cross Space Highway now stops. So if the executive is looking to put it into a community first village, then there's no way that there's a highway going through there.
Mhm.
Okay, that kind of brings up another question then on that's down at the bottom of the page.
The bottom of the
I'll let it
agenda.
go. I'll let it go right now.
Yeah,
Well, we'll come back to it.
I got a
All right.
question. I got a question, if I could, for Marty. This small house village.
Oh, wait,
Is that the-
Dan, it's on the agenda, just a
yeah.
little further
I'll
down.
wait. I'll wait.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So are we done with the comprehensive plan?
I think so.
Okay, then let's move on to Canyon Road Northerly Extension.
could I say something about the email before we begin that discussion?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah?
That was an email that the county sent out, and it's the first time that I've ever noticed something from the county where over 200 people's names and email addresses were right there.
Whoops.
Not knowing quite how to deal with that before passing it on to the other members of our community association board of directors, I pushed the hide button, and that seemed to take away all of those names and email addresses. And so I sent it on to us because it's a community association business. Don rightfully replied that apparently that didn't work.
Mhm.
And so I intend to email a response back indicating that they sent out all these names and email addresses when they shouldn't have.
Correct. Yikes.
So-
Where did it come from? I don't think I'm familiar with this email.
Yeah, it was
Um,
an email about Canyon Road Northerly Extension.
What I've experienced using Windows, you can highlight all of those names, right click and delete the whole batch of them. And
Can-
it'll never show up in the context of the letter.
Yeah, can you forward, and I mean, obviously, we at the county already have all those email addresses, so you can include them or if you find a way to get them out, but if you could forward that letter to me, I'll find
do
out.
that.
Okay,
Yeah, it,
Who
it, it
set
was.
that out and make sure they don't do that again, because
It
that's
was
just,
Canyon Road Connection at Pierce County Law.gov. It's like their listserv that they've created for specifically for that project. And unfortunately, it looks like everyone's email who's on the distribution list showed up on the email. So I
Yeah, it's
mean,
like
it is an
200
honest oversight. I've seen it happen. I'm not saying that it's
you
an
hit
excuse,
CC instead
but
of BCC.
yeah,
And,
I think that's what happened. So
and I'm pretty sure they're aware of it, but I want to 100% make sure they're aware of it.
I'm guessing a
Okay.
few people have already reached out and said, hey, what the heck?
It's on its way to you, Marty.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Gabe, if that happens again, is Dawn correct that you can highlight the names and email addresses and then just click delete?
But yeah, if you forward an email to anybody, you can select the header for the forwarding, which has a huge block of email addresses in there, and it gets rid of it from at least from where you sent it on. Nobody else will see those addresses, but I mean,
Okay.
the fun
Alright.
thing somebody could have done, and I didn't see anybody do this, which is kind of a nice thing, is reply to all. Nobody did a reply to all,
Oh, thank goodness.
because that would have been even messier.
I know.
All right.
I mean, still, those names and email addresses are still out there.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I don't know how they can pull it back, but I will make sure that they are, while I'm sure they're aware of it, I'm gonna make sure they're fully aware of it. And then yeah, make sure. Thank you for this.
And I noticed my name is on the agenda to give an update, and I don't necessarily have anything in addition to the email, but maybe Marty, you could give us a little bit more context on the recent council action in denying the request to apply for the $25 million grant.
So
Maybe-
a couple of context from my perspective.
Mhm.
If you talk to 7 of us, you'll have 7 perspectives.
Right,
Uh,
yes.
the first grant was it was something that it was a federal grant that came down for railroads, specifically railroads crossing. So the northerly extension, after it drops down the hill, this would be grade separated going over the rail line there. It cut diagonally just before Storinos, across front Storinos, up through the yard and up through the yard and lawn company on Phillip Road or on River Road, and then across the river about there. So this was some federal money to help pay for the crossing of the rail line. But at the same time, as council, we're looking at a project that's been in the work for 30 years, but is it still the right project? Is it still, the promise was all this heavy manufacturing out in Frederickson, this would support heavy manufacturing, 3 shifts, a day, all this heavy round, and now it's all logistics. And is that what it's going to remain? If are we building all this corridor, and some are saying, well, Frederickson's 90% built out. Well, if it's 90% built out, do we need this connection to make the other 10%? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. We say we want to take a look at it, because what was envisioned in the 90s isn't what we got, but we've got something. So let's make sure before we've spent, I don't know, 125 million on Canyon Road to date, but the next phase, or the next 2 phases, the going over the rail lines and then over the river, those can be 300 to 400 million. So that we don't really have a plan to fully fund. And without a plan, we either show us how you're going to fully fund it, show us that you still need it. I should say that. Show us you still need it to be that robust, 5 lanes wide. Show us how you're going to fund that. If you're not, can it be skinny down if we don't have that much demand? And if so, could we fund a smaller project? I mean, does it need to be, can it be 3 lanes as it cuts across rural separator? So that's what we've kind of called timeout. Well, just as we're talking about doing that, they come with this grant. Well, if we apply for the grant, then we've committed to crossing the rail line, and it's all in motion. And so we really can't study. The other thing is that grant allowed for up to 80% match of the cost of the crossing. And which means, and I think that's like $100 million segment. So we could have asked for 80 million and they were asking for 25. And you know what? If we don't have a way to pay for it, but we can ask for more, we think we need to ask for more. Now they're saying if they ask for 80 that they're probably not going to get it because there's like 120 per year being let out over the next 4 years. We pushed back, they immediately pushed it up to 30. And if we decide that this is what we need to do, and that's the crossing, can we ask for 50 and get us a bigger chunk of the way there? Because they get $50 million out of the federal government, that's not coming out of local transportation impact fees, and a lot of local funds, refunds, or whatever, and we can use that to improve other roads. So that's kind of the big picture. Then 2 weeks later, we passed the 141, which is the study, really our road, a lot of canyon, but other roads too, as to, you know, make sure coming out of the pandemic that what we set in place decades ago is still the correct way forward, and figure out how to put more, to make our roads less freeway and more pedestrian, bicycle friendly. It's not possible in every situation, but more so where we can, particularly when we're working up and down more urban corridors. So we really want to step back, take a look, get it right before we go into a next phase of funding mega projects.
I have a couple.
Yes, Dan.
Couple questions. You say Frederickson's is 90% built out now?
So that's what someone said. Now there's the whole 300 acres of the Boeing project, and there's development that could happen along Canyon between, say, 512 and Frederickson. And so it is, you know, a lot built out or under contract, but there's millions of square feet coming online. You're also seeing a lot of building up 167, the new that up in Sumner area. So it is a lot built out. Now, just because a lot is built doesn't mean it can't be rebuilt to a higher capacity or something like that. But it's we're just trying to figure that out. Go ahead.
My second question is, north of 112th Street, Canyon Road, is that 4-lane plus 1 or is that 3-lane plus 1?
So north of 112th right now, we have it all the way down to 84th and under construction 72nd, which should be done by spring, all the way to 72nd at 5 lanes, 4+1. So, I mean, it is 4+1 up to 84th right now.
So it'll be all the way to the 72nd, 4+1.
Right. And then as it drops down the hill, it'll probably skinny to 4 lanes with maybe an occasional turnpike, because there's just not a lot of need for them to turn as they drop down the hill that I recall. And then as it hits the bottom, then it arcs across the valley there. So whether or not it's, you know, a large chunk of that could probably be 4 lanes, but then you'll run into places where you have to add that other lane.
Okay.
Larry.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, Larry.
Mark, if the overpass over the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad tracks is built, does that commit the county to go all the way across the river to 70th Avenue and Fife?
Yeah, I mean, most likely, because you're not gonna, it's kind of that weird one. Yeah, you're not gonna fly over there and spend all the money on a flyover and drop it into 67th and try and run them across the Milroy. I mean, the Milroy Bridge has to be replaced, and it just has to, regardless of whether or not we do a flyover. And even then, I was talking because it arcs up there, but then it stays elevated for a long distance. In part was asked for by the agricultural community so they had a place to run their tractors under. Nice, great, I get that. But if you could land it sooner and save $50 million, then put in a tractor crossing. Because for $50 million, you can send the sheriff out there to stop traffic every time a tractor needs to cross. You know, so at some point, yes, I'm all for allowing them to cross without going across the road. But if we're talking, 8 crossings a year, or even 20 crossings a year to get to their fields, there could be a better way to do it. If we could save tens of millions in not putting this large. Plus, I don't want our valley to have this big viaduct, flying over it. I'd rather drop it down sooner. I think it becomes very distracting to what the valley is. So that's me. That's why we're gonna take another look at it. We see things through very different lenses today than we did 10, 20, and 40 years ago. So
It'd be cheaper
Another
to
quick question.
It'd be cheaper for the county to buy them a tractor for this side and a tractor for this side, and not have to cross.
right. I mean, and I kind of pull that 50 out of the air, but if it literally, if you could drop a viaduct a half a mile sooner, you are talking some serious money there. So it's going to have to be up to cross the railroad track. But the nice part is you're coming off down the hill and you think of where Pioneer is. So it's already coming in at a slightly elevated. So you're not having to like go way up and come back down. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, it'd be, you're right. It'd be cheaper to put a tractor on both sides. It'd be cheaper again to have the sheriff come out and flag it every time they want to cross. I mean, the engineers were told to solve it. Okay. But now let's bring in the whole picture. Let's look at it now if there's been time. So, and I look at what, Storinos and Pika have become, and they're not the farms or they're not the agribusiness they were in 1990. They're much more robust agribusinesses that I don't want to sacrifice for this. So, I don't know, so we're going back to study. It is the simple one. At the end of the day, something probably has to go across there. We have to replace the Milroy Bridge. So we're going to be putting a bridge there, and we're 72nd, and I think they're already doing the engineering to drop it down the hill. So we're going to have to do some sort of connection, but it may not need to be as robust as we've thought in the past.
I think you're on the right
Quick
track.
question.
Yeah.
Quick comment about Canyon Road through from 96 down to 84th. I was walking back over to Weston's from 84th to Weston's, which is about 4 blocks south. And I swear there were 2 vehicles that went from 0 to 60, 70 miles an hour by the time in 4 blocks. And I asked the owner of Weston's, Mike, and his son Danny, and they said sometimes people are going so fast that they don't have time to even look up from the counter to see what kind of vehicle it was. So I think we have an enforcement issue that may need a little bit of attention as far as speed, especially between 84th and 96th. They go 100 miles. Well, they go 100 miles an hour, and then they have to stop at 96 possibly, or they go screaming past Don's place at a high rate of speed too. So I know Don can probably attest to that.
Yeah, we need a lot of enforcement issues in a lot of parts of our county. Good news is sheriff's hirings are up. I think we've added 19. They added another 7 on top of that. Actually, I think we're close to 30 hired this year, with on track to have kind of that big gap of deputies that we've had closed by next year. Angela.
Yes. So it sounds like what I'm hearing you say is having a lot of WashDOT experience under my belt, kind of that practical solutions lens of design. So what makes sense? What's really the purpose and need we're trying to address? What are some practical solutions to that? What might make sense? So if it's just a bridge, if it's a skinnier road, if it's something that's more scaled back that fits with the community, it sounds like that's what the council is asking the Office of the County Engineer to look at. Is that correct?
That's a good way to describe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Was there anything else on the subject? Okay, so then C, it's just as it is. It hasn't been posted online. It's on Angela's to-do list at some point, so she'll get to us when it's posted or when there's a response?
It's still on my to-do list. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It is on the
No
website though.
problem.
It's on the website. Yeah, I just haven't done a Facebook post for, hey, we're still looking for members. I wanted to check, since we're all here this evening, before I put something out saying we're seeking X amount of board positions. I wanted to make sure and clarify if we are indeed looking for a person to fill the president position in the coming year, or if Jen, you feel comfortable in staying in your role. So I wanted to make sure I asked that question first before I assumed anything. So
I am feeling much more comfortable because I feel so supported by you all. And so if you will have me, I would be honored to continue on.
excellent. Okay, well, that
I'm
makes
a
it,
cheerleader. Thanks, Marty.
yeah. So then that, I just confirm with the rest of the board, that leaves us one alternate position that is vacant. Is that correct?
I think so.
Oh.
We got,
Don't we
I'll
have
check,
one
let me look at the
board position?
website real quick.
We have one board position that isn't filled.
Do we need another alternate as well?
Yes, we do. Has anybody reached out to Mark Gianoble, if, he hasn't been to any of the meetings, I don't think this year at all. Does he still want to be an alternate, and can he be at some of our meetings?
I will reach out to him and ask about that. I'll put it on my to-do
Okay.
list.
Okay, let me know, Jen, then if we're looking for an alternate, an additional alternate, and if Mark is still in, then we're looking for one alternate. If he's not, then we're looking for two. But then Larry, I heard you say we still have one board position vacant. Is that correct? Because
Yes.
Jen took the president position, so that vacated hers, correct?
Yeah, but it's because. Let's see. All of a sudden, my name just dropped out of my head. Who was president before?
Bob,
Bob,
Oh,
Bob,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so Bob's
yeah.
vacant position
Bob's
too.
left,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We need one full board and two alternates.
Got it.
Or,
Okay.
one or two, if
One or two,
Mark,
okay.
yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I was very clear when we put that out, because we had talked about trying to solicit somebody with tribal ties, either a tribal member or tribal administration or tribal council or something. And then also some PTA ties to at least one of the school districts. So if we're looking for up to 3 positions, I want to make sure that that's very clearly articulated to our community members. So thank you very much. I will keep that on my to-do list. And I promise I'll get to it.
I think we
Dan?
looked at the Waller Road Grange too, potentially.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
all right.
Put that on a note here.
Tuala Tribal Housing. Any new news, any updates from anyone?
Well, many years ago, they put in a certain number of duplexes. We were involved with trying to advocate that to be the limit. We were happy with it. The community was. Now they're saying, of course, under new council discretion, they're going to add up to 6 more. I don't have a comment. There's not much at this point we can do. If we could, I don't know what good it would do. What is
I
the
have
board?
a friend who lives pretty much next door to that community, and I asked if she knew that these houses were going in and if she had anything to say, and she just shrugged and said, "Yeah, no big deal." She didn't care.
Well, they've been pretty low key, they're, yeah.
So
I think, personally, I think if we start interjecting ourselves on that particular issue, it might throw a wrinkle into the work that Jen and Marty Campbell are doing currently, working with the tribe on the bigger issues out here.
Yeah, and I looked through their environmental assessment that they are is subject to public comment right now. And from my personal, professional, environmental professional position, I don't really feel like it was a very thorough environmental assessment. I think there was some mischaracterizations of what the natural environment really is in that area. However, after talking with Dan, I agree. I don't really know that pointing those things out or sending some formal comment letter is really going to gain us anything, because honestly, the tribe they're just going to do it anyway. So I think, I think it's better just to say thank you for actually even thinking of us to send it to us, which I really appreciate their planner for doing that. But I don't really know that it would do any good for us to send in a comment letter to say, oh, actually, you've mischaracterized this. It really should say these things. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Currently, Marty Campbell and Jen are working with the tribe. And I think we should keep the stage clean for them to be able to proceed forward rather than glum it up with anything else right now.
Yeah.
Marty, what do you think?
I think that's probably pretty good. I think, and I've got to connect with Jen, but probably later this month, this being November, or at least by the end of the year, we're gonna, sit down, have lunch with their government relations person and, continue to foster those relationships. So we can just we can ask, but do so in a very, non just in a very conversational way, not a confrontational, and which is the intended relationship we want to build, to be more conversational. And we'll ask them at that time if we can if they have a recommendation for a possible board member.
Okay.
With tribal connections. And so
Okay.
that's part of what we'll get on that agenda too.
Thank you.
My last comment on that, I think the main focus from my point of view is the Faith Dairy area, that particular area, what the future of that will hold, the Squally Valley and so forth. That's where I think your discussions might want to focus.
Yeah. I'm very interested in, what's going to happen with Faith Dairy, and I asked the executive 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, we were going to get this report back. Where's it at? He said he'd look into it and he hasn't gotten back to me. So I'm going to go nudge him again on, we were going to take lessons learned from it. Well, what did we learn? What are we going to do? We talked a lot about that. So continuing to try to keep that top of mind, because I don't want to come in next May and be like, oh, well, we didn't really get anything. So we're working on, at least from the county side, what are they recommending? So
what report are you talking about?
Just as we went into the whole fireworks, there was this kind of we don't know what the traffic's going to be. We know it's not going to be great, but we don't know. And so a lot of what I was told from the executive side was we will watch and learn and adjust. And I want to know, what did they watch? What did they learn? And how are we going to adjust? So that's what I was told. So that's what I'm pushing to get answers on. And because obviously it was a bit rushed last year, but we should be able to do a little better this next year.
Before the 4th, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, this wasn't on the agenda. We're sort of inserting some things, which is fine. I made a connection with one of the liaisons at Kelp High School, the tribal liaison there, who and we're doing a little bit of chatting here and there, and the school board is approved new curriculum that focuses on the tribal history in the area, and it's on my to-do list this week to do a little bit of research and read through what is available to read through about the new curriculum that they're going to be implementing. And that interests me because I feel that I mean, I'm a product of the Puyallup school system. I had friends who were in the tribe, and I really grew up not knowing very much about the tribal history. It was very limited knowledge, and what I have learned, it's been through reading as an adult. And so if the neighbors have had similar education, then it doesn't give us very much historical knowledge about what the tribal members have been through, maybe. And I just feel that if that piece is missing, then it adds to the lack of understanding about the area we live in and the people we live amongst. And maybe future generations, if they're educated a little bit more, might have different attitudes and perspectives. And I think that would be a good thing.
You can go online right now and Google it, and you can find out anything you would want to know about the history of the Puyallup tribe. I mean, you could spend hours learning everything you'd want to know. I mean, in history, maps, everything. So
Right.
that's where I've learned my background.
I want to see how they're going to present it to the school kids, though.
Of course.
All right. T-shirts. Whole different level of conversation.
Yes. I have not moved forward on that issue. And in order for me to move forward on that issue this month, I'm going to need some information tonight, some directional information. Somebody remind me of the company again at 112th in Portland. What's the name of the company?
Or what is his name?
Visi Printing.
That's right, Busy Printing.
I'm thinking Bigfoot Java. I'm like, ah.
I was just gonna say that, Marty, but I decided not to. Good job.
Okay, I thought someone was going to email me some logos. I think we had agreed that we would have a small logo on the front
No, the
with
back.
the,
On the back, yeah, we don't want the small circle on the breast of a shirt.
okay, all right, and it's a T-shirt, right? Not a polo shirt.
So we're doing
Correct.
these for volunteer stuff, right? Is this for volunteer that might be used by people
Yeah.
working on the sides of the road or in parks that might need high vis? Because that might be consideration as high vis colors. We could put the logo on either black and white, or I've got one in the blue that's on the website. I've got those logos, and I simply will be able to put above it in large cutout letters, volunteer.
Okay, so that would be on the back of the shirt.
Yeah.
Would have our big swan logo with volunteer above it.
And maybe if we want it on the breast here on the left side, just have SWCA volunteer in just only text without any adornments.
I think that'd
Okay.
be good.
All right, and let's see, sizes. I would need sizes from all of you, but I don't want to ask you individually what your sizes are tonight. I'll put out an email and you can respond with your sizes. Probably will want to order a few extras because we're talking about adding another board position, maybe 4 or 5 extra shirts, various sizes. And I can figure out what those would be by the response I get from the 8 of you, including myself. I can get an idea of what sort of extra sizes we would need. Let's see, the color of the shirt. Are we talking blue? Would that be a dark blue, light blue with white lettering?
That's a big one because everyone's got black. It's not good if you're working out in the sun at an event of any kind. Gray is kind of, you get those mottled gray ones that aren't like a solid gray, but the kind of have like a grayish, blackish, I don't know what you call it, but kind of hashing to it.
Heather gray.
Oh, there you go. And I mean, those are a little bit more forgiving over time. White obviously was difficult to keep clean. Any bright colors as well, hard to keep clean. So
don't
especially if
know,
we're
I
doing
think-
things out in the community, like a cleanup job, and you're wearing those shirts to represent, and then the shirts are ruined first time you use it, type of thing.
A light blue could be nice.
Okay.
Did
Well, I
did
was
you hear
thinking,
me?
yeah,
I was saying, okay, I wasn't sure.
you said light blue.
Yeah. If
And,
everyone else likes it.
Yeah, our colors are blue and white. And a lot of times when you're out there working alongside the road, you're gonna have a vest on over the t-shirt perhaps,
Yeah.
reflector vest.
Hmm.
So maybe something that, t-shirt that we could just wear to, our in-person meetings, our general membership meeting. Maybe if we have to go to a Pierce County Council meeting, that, that might be appropriate too. I'm not
Mhm.
sure.
Larry, did you ever think of the idea that maybe someone on the board might not want to wear one of those? I would personally would feel kind of silly wearing one to a county council meeting.
Well, yeah, as soon as I said Pierce County Council meeting, I started to walk that idea back in my mind.
Unless we're protesting something in solidarity.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's good to show up with all similar, but
So just request no light sky blues. I mean, a solid blue, but lighter, and nothing like a pastel weird color too. It's got to be just a neutral blue.
Okay,
get all
so-
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. Not a real dark blue, but a lighter blue.
We need a perfect blue. All right.
Yeah, perfect blue.
Perfect blue.
Not periwinkle.
Yeah, right.
And Larry, when you talk to Mark at Visit Printing, he'll send you to a website and there'll be about every color possible as a choice for t-shirts. So
And
you'll
different
just-
different weights of the material and
different
everything. Yeah.
blends of materials, different weights. Oh yeah.
Maybe I can take Angela with me.
I'd be happy to go. I mean, I've worked with Mark 100 times for a bunch of other stuff. So
We can try to match it to her purple hair.
I know it looks purple. It's not purple. I do not have purple hair.
Oh, I thought maybe you dyed it for Halloween.
I am not a member of the Purple Hair Club. I'm just making that very clear. It looks purple, is really not.
Let's-
Swear it's not purple.
Let's see.
That's not a bad color blue.
It's one of the better blue shirts I've been given.
So the nice thing is we can actually get that thing. Here's Larry can, once he gets the links, and go, here are the color options, and then we can all put in our
Oh,
input
it
there.
even has white lettering on the back. Hold on, let me shake it out.
Yeah, if it's too dark, some lettering won't show up. If it's too light, other type of color won't show up.
Mhm.
It's amazing how much how much thought you have to put into a t-shirt.
Why isn't my
Mhm.
camera? Wait.
You have to show your face and the shirt at the same time. There you
Show my
go.
face
Yeah.
and the shirt at the same time.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah,
There we
that's a good
go.
contrast. Yeah.
I kind of get the idea on that. All right. Yeah, I'd feel real
One
comfortable
option.
with that. Yeah, I'd feel real comfortable when it comes time to, after I get the sizes, it comes time to, pay this Mark individual at the
Mhm.
Busy Printing, a visit. That, maybe Angela can go with me.
You bet. I sent you
So we
a, I sent you an
find the
email,
perfect-
Larry.
Okay,
So
with
one
the
thing of
right
note when you're
link.
asking questions about the cost of things, ask them if they actually set up the account with our logos on file and our designs on file. So if down the road we want to do sweatshirts or additional orders,
Yeah,
they're not
they
doing any
will.
more artwork, and see what the cost difference is down the road too.
okay.
Yeah, usually that's what Mark will do is they'll set it up. I mean, you'd get charged for the setup fee because
Yeah.
they have to take your logo and then make it to fit the shirt size. There's like in fact, what did he give me? He quoted me something else here recently.
Now my work shirts, I
Uh,
had to do initial art setup first.
He charges about Oh, he said it's about $15 per shirt plus the setup. I don't think the setup's very expensive. It's like 50 or $100 or something. So
So I'm assuming they already have our logo.
No, no, I have the logo. Nobody's told me where to send a logo to.
Okay. all
Yeah.
right.
And I also need to know the format they prefer it in.
whatever vector
Alright.
file you got, native files.
Okay, yeah, I'll send it
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
All right. Okay.
Should I send it to you, Angela?
Yeah, you can send it to me and Larry.
The fact you actually know what a vector file is to begin with, I think I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I think so.
I do not know what a vector file is. Angela,
I mean, I don't really know what it is. I just know that's what they want to, that's what they always ask for
Yeah.
doing any artwork for printed or any
It
printed material. They
scales, it
always,
scales well, that's why, yeah.
Yep. Or native files. They want native file format as much as you can. So
Okay,
Pierce
moving on
County
to
Board.
F, Pierce County Village. Micro homes off the Spanaway Loop to be managed by the Tacoma Rescue Mission. Don wanted to speak about that or ask about it or something. He never specified.
Do we have any discussion that we want to talk about? I know that, Dan had a comment earlier. I'll let him go ahead with that.
Well, I had a question for Marty. Marty mentioned that, 176, is it, I believe, is gonna dead end over there by the base somewhere. And that is where the teeny village is gonna go. My question is, does the county already own that land?
No, we're working on a purchase agreement with the current owners. It's 87 acres, but a lot of it's wetland, pretty intensive wetland. But there's about 27 usable acres within it.
Mhm. What's the zoning out there?
Well,
residential-
that's been a bit of an issue because the executive didn't think it was much about, so the executive did all the search, then came to us and said, here's the one you need to buy, release the funds. And then people ask that, what's the zoning? And it's single family and, or residential resource or something. It's not exactly single family, but it's not the density that they're thinking. The executive's like, well, we'll just fast track the zoning change. And we're not as big on that, but there's been just a whole lot of questions raised. And so we're going to go through some more public process on it. They did identify 5 sites. This is the preferred one. I don't remember where the others are right off. One was like adjacent to the runway at Funfield. But the, or near the runway at Funfield, but, we're still working on this one to see if we can get it to work, and if we can, we will, and if we can't, we're looking at using federal funds we got as, recovery funds, the ARPA funds, about 23 million or so of that. But then there would be a significant match from private and philanthropic investments into it to kind of match well beyond that. We're hoping for about 2 times the amount in philanthropic and private donations to match ours, so that we have what it takes to set up this, what would be long-term supportive housing for probably 300 people who are currently homeless.
Were any of those other proposals within any rural areas or just within urban areas?
I would have to go pull the list because I would mostly just looking at the current one and checking it. It's they did need to get a large footprint. So I don't believe any of them were within the rural separator. But I'll have to, I don't remember where number 5 was.
Could you find out, Marty, if you would, please?
Oh, yeah.
Are there any in or near the rural separator? And are there any proposed to be within any Pierce County Parks or the city of Tacoma or Metro Parks?
None within parks.
None of
Because
them.
we wouldn't, we wouldn't do that.
Okay.
So that would be off the table. Or Metro Parks, we're really looking at doing it in unincorporated Pierce County. City of Tacoma already takes on disproportionate share of the need within our homeless communities. So they're doing, it's time we step up beyond the city limits because almost everything we do in the county is within the city limits.
Okay,
Thank-
both Dawn and Gabe had their hands up. Dawn was first and then Gabe was next.
I went online and looked at those 3 parcels under the About My Property, and all 3 of them are highly environmentally sensitive properties, and I don't understand why the county wants to pursue that, because knowing what these tiny villages attract and what goes around surrounding them, to me, it's a more than a big question mark.
So I wouldn't focus too much on what they attract. I mean, there'll be management on site. It'll be, very well. I think it'll be well managed, and from that prospect, we'll probably have no impacts beyond if you put a housing development back there, because you have on-site management. So as far as like community impact, I think it'll be well managed, and if it's well managed, you set good expectations and you follow through on them, that's fine. The environmental part is a big concern with all the wetlands. The flip side to that is if the county buys the 87 acres, of which 20 some is usable, we're then retaining and caring for the wetlands, rather than leaving them in private hands and letting them be. So a lot of answers still need to be done on that though, because I don't know how we deal with like on-site sewage and things like that.
Yeah, okay, now, those parcels have a pretty high, tax value. Does the county go in and, if you're taxing them at that value, are you buying them at that value?
You probably. I mean, we have to pay fair market value for. Well, yeah, we have to pay fair market value, unless it's yeah. So, well, whatever you saw, yeah, it's probably about what we're paying for it.
How does that compare to other parcels that are available?
Pretty comparable. I mean, it's going to feel like less, but there's because there's just a lot of unusable land on there. But I imagine it's pretty comparable. They haven't showed us all the comparables for all the sites they were looking at. Mostly they came and gave us about a 90-minute presentation that was high on presentation and low on specifics. So we're working on, and then they asked us to put it on the agenda the next week to release the funding, and we didn't. We said 2 more research, come back. So probably if we come back and move on that mid-month to end of month, but it every day it seems to be a little steeper, just a little steeper climb for that site. But we need to do something.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, but I'm with Dan. I would like to know what the public's input, if there's any available, and what the alternatives are.
Yeah, I will find the alternatives and get them over to you.
Okay,
I got them somewhere. I didn't really look that deep at them because they're like, we've looked at these and here's where else we looked, but here's what we've decided and where we're going. And so I looked at where we were going and didn't look that deep at where we were not going.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, the news splash that kind of came out. So I went to the website and looked, and it's like, ta-da, here's our results. Like, but how did you get to that result? I don't see anything in here about the process, who was involved, how decisions were made, how those sites were screened out, what the alternatives analysis looked like. It was just like, ta-da! Like, oh, come
Yeah.
on, county, you can do better. You can do better than this.
And I'll be very
Okay,
clear, we were very much, the council was not kept up to speed on it. I
It's
mean,
just-
literally. So I get this message from someone who's like, hey, just want to let y'all know I'm in support of the site. And this was like the 1st of September. And I was like, you're in favor of the what?
Yeah.
As far as I know, it hasn't been chosen. I sent that over to the executive and they're like, yeah, we're scheduling one-on-one briefings with you right away.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, it's not going to serve you well to keep the council in the dark on where you're going with this. So we're working through it. At some point they've got to go do their work. It's that fine balance. You've got to put something up, and before you put something up, you want to do your due diligence.
Mhm.
But I'm not. It's not easy when it's something this big, and so I know they're trying, but I expected a little better.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean we don't go through and get there.
okay,
So,
Gabe.
yeah, so
still-
this is 176 where it ends, where also known as Cross Base Road that you mentioned earlier is possibly not even going to happen going through base anymore, or
Yeah, cross base is not going to happen.
okay. So
It's just-
the perceived land value that property was probably being secured for is no longer going to be anything. So
Right.
you're probably getting it for a lot less than you would have. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was hoping to sell it for the cross base highway, and now he's happy to sell it for this.
Just to unload it. Yeah. Okay. All right. That was my only question. Thank you.
I did ask if we could buy it without the wetlands, and they said, no, that wasn't an option. Because I thought that'd be the best way to do it.
Yeah, you wouldn't sell it either.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, and one of the red flags for me, being overly sparing here, was I said, well, what's your plan for maintaining the wetlands? Where's that at in the budget? And they're like, oh, well, we hadn't budgeted for that yet. And I'm like, yeah, don't come back till you have a line item for maintaining of the wetlands, because you don't assume 50 acres of wetlands without any plan, even if it's, we're going to partner with Forterra to do it, or we're going to partner with, you have that identified.
Especially when you have a demographic that tends to squat on wetlands.
That again, it'll be
Yeah.
well managed on site. So
So that's
that
on site. That's the whole point, but it would be off site in the wetlands, which we're constantly fighting with now. Yeah.
right, but you will have management there that just wouldn't be allowed to happen
All right. Good.
because there isn't part of it that would be out of sight, out of mind.
Well, I
So
think,
I get what you're saying, but it would be like if we had 30 people living in Orange Gate Park, we would know what's going on in every corner of Orange Gate Park all the time. So it's the unwatched lands where people show up. So
yeah, well, you got people living in Orange Gate Park off and on now, and, they're still there. The feds and the, National Marine have their eye on those, wetland parcels out there also. So I don't think it's just the county that's, considering the environmental impact.
yeah, no, it'll be yeah, there is a lot of hurdles that we have to get over.
Fingers in the pie.
Yes.
Okay.
I do not think it'll be a very easy process, and we're going to hold the executive's office to the highest standard because we need this to succeed, both for the people who need it and for our community. So I guess that's the best way I can sum that up. We'll be watching closely, but we need success, and that's why we're watching closely.
Thanks, Marty.
Is there a way to be kept in the loop on this topic?
I imagine we have a website that has information on it.
Oh, there is. There's a
Yeah,
there's a
I get
lovely
it all
section
directly,
with
so
a
I don't
lot of
always know it.
information.
Yeah, I don't always know it from the public facing side, and that's embarrassing. I should know it better, but
All right. So
Well,
just
Marty,
keep checking.
Marty, if you would, again, if you could let us know if any of the alternative 5 sites or how many sites there might be, if there any of those located in rural areas or near or in the-
I'll get the list of the 5 sites and shoot them over to y'all.
Thank
I'll
you.
just get you all 5 and you can just look at them. I
Thank
won't
you.
pre-screen them. You can just look at them.
Jen, I'll put the link to the not the Facebook page, the website in the chat.
Mm.
So you
I
can
have
see
the
it.
website. I already went to it.
Yeah, so then you could probably contact the email, which is pcvillage@piercecountywa.gov. You could, I'm guessing, I would assume that they're putting together an email list that they would send out updates for.
Right.
And there are some
figure it out.
communities out there that are throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall to see what they can get to stick to oppose it. So you're going to hear a lot of chatter. Some of it is reasonable and things we need to consider, and some of it is just pretty. We got a long letter saying that it's bear territory and we're just feeding homeless people to the bears if we put them there. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. So it's you know, there's going to be a whole lot of chatter around this. That'll weeding through it'll be interesting.
Right.
Well, I wear another community hat, as you well know, so
Yes.
I have another interest in the topic from a different area of my life.
Yeah, and you know, supportive voices are good too. So we need all kinds. So it's the other thing, you know, watching it, even if it doesn't happen, I think it will be a really good exercise in public process and how the county does things as a good learning tool, so that should there be something within our area that for whatever reason we want to oppose or even accept, understanding some of the processes by watching this. It's always better to watch it happen way over there and learn than to have to try to learn while you're going here. And then I don't know if you guys are following at all the airport
Yes.
recommendation with the 2 airports. That's
Yes.
now the council and the executive has sent a letter saying, well, thank you for announcing this without really talking to us. And again, it's that whole kind of, they have to put it out there. You know, why haven't you talked to everyone? Well, we've put it out there so we can talk to everyone. You know, we've sent a letter opposed to it, just saying that really we don't have the infrastructure set up in this county to handle a mid-sized large airport. You know, and there's a whole lot of momentum going on that. So that's another process that's just worth watching how it goes through, because I think there's a lot to be learned by the way that some of the people up there are doing it.
Yeah.
And despite and the rumor's not true, despite some pilots attempt to turn Strino Farms into an airfield, we're not going to that poor guy.
Yeah, that was quite interesting how there was quite the scuttlebutt on the Facebook page about that whole thing. And then it was in South Sound News and the sheriff's department reported on it and all that sort of thing. So it's quite interesting.
Well, did anybody hear whether, is that a medical issue or was it mechanical failure or run out of fuel?
I have not heard. I heard he walked away. So
Yeah,
I'm going to guess, mechanical. I mean, you should be good enough not to run out of fuel. And certainly not far from airfields. You know, you're not very far from much of any, from several there. So my guess is that he had a mechanical, found a good field. There were farm workers out working in the field, just not right where he was at, but they rushed to it pretty quickly. And it was a typical, he sat down and then as soon as the wheels hit the soft dirt, flipped up on its top.
yeah.
So it wasn't a big crash.
No, I've seen them. I've been on fields when they come in and not landed gracefully.
That's a tough It's a tough question as to where to put another airport to handle the overflow that's going to occur from SeaTac Airport. I know that Payne Field in Everett has been mentioned. I'm not sure exactly what sort of expansion acreage they have there. And I was kind of wondering why there was this given that they're not going to put another airport in King County, you know.
Well, I think
There's
that they
rural-
already, they've already got SeaTac, which is massive, Boeing Field, Renton Field. And I know I'm missing one, so they've already got some pretty good sized. Payne Field could expand and do some of it, and and in my opinion, something Olympia or South would actually serve well, because let's not try to push all the planes into the same envelope.
Centralia could be nice.
Yeah, but it'd be nice if it was nice enough that it would be convenient to us.
I understood it was a commercial goods, not necessarily a passenger airport that they were focused on. What am I wrong on that, or
No, it would be it would have passenger
it would
service.
be it would be full? Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That was more cargo based. Okay.
Yeah, I think it would move a lot of the cargo off the out of SeaTac to allow them to be a lot more, but it would have its certain amount of passenger base, probably some very regionalism.
There was kind of a fantasy idea years ago that there would be a high-speed train between Puget Sound and Moses Lake, where they could use the former Larson Air Force Base as the new airport. Plenty of space. It's got one of the longest runways in the world. Of course, now it's the Grant County Airport. I haven't heard any talk about that.
Yeah, and I wonder if we really need to move cargo, if there isn't a way we can't use. I mean, it'd be a huge stretch, but find a way to use the McCord Airfield or just straight up cargo. But that could also be very, in times of peace, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure the increased tensions around the world have caused the federal government and the military to take another look at what would be infringing upon their bases. It didn't surprise me that when you said the military just wasn't for the cross base thing. I could see that possibly.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
Jen, do we have any announcements?
I was just gonna ask everyone else that. I have nothing. Does anyone else have anything?
I have 3 quick points.
Okay,
I have one. Ballots are due next Tuesday. Carry on. Ballots are due next Tuesday. Carry on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Canyon Rim, we reversed that at the Superior Court, remanded the hearing examiner. Haven't heard from the hearing examiner. A little fishy. I don't know what's going on. 121st Street, the apartment proposal up there. We lost at the Court of Appeals, you recall. Now, in this plan update, the comprehensive plan update, the owner of the property is proposing now for it to be what we originally wanted it to be. So even though we lost the appeal, we kind of won subliminally in the end. Weird. Regarding the state-sponsored study that's undergoing, I've talked to Angela about this. We have the Tom Ballard report that supports the rural separator. We have the Pierce County Council mandated study done years ago that supports the rural separator. I think we need to make sure that that gets to this consultant that's going to be doing this study.
That you're
So-
talking about the incorporation study.
Well, it's called an incorporation study, but now it's called the Parkland study, whatever that means.
I don't know either, because yeah.
So-
So for those that aren't on the emails, I reached out to Representative Morgan's office in the summer, saying, here's a list of all these interested community members. They want to participate in this study. Didn't hear anything. I actually heard from Council Member Janie Hitchen's office, which was nice, but I didn't hear from anyone at the state until some of our 25th district folks also responded. But anyway, didn't really hear much. And then when we emailed back again just a few weeks ago, it's like, hey, we're still here. We're still willing to participate. We're, ready and willing to help. And then through a series of emails through Janie Hitchen's office again and other people and other legislative assistants at the state, we got in touch with the project manager at the Department of Commerce who is actually leading the incorporation study. So she now has a list of all the individuals that are interested, and apparently they're going to be reaching out to the community here in the near future. I don't know what that means in terms of what our community participation looks like. If we're just going to be sent emails saying, hey, this is what we're looking at, ta-da, here are the results, or if it's going to be a more active collaborative effort as the study progresses. I don't know the answer to that, but Dan had some good questions on when do we want to give them the Tom Ballard report? When should we be doing this? And
Look, and I'll just hold you up there a little bit.
Sure.
I've been working with Jenny a lot on this. She lives out there in Parkland.
Yeah.
Apparently it's come back that this is now only a Parkland incorporation study. And that's what Jenny has told me, that they kind of realized what they stepped into and have shrunk it down to be a Parkland only study. Because
now the emails make sense. I couldn't figure out why it had gone to Parkland, and I was trying to parse that out. Okay.
yeah, that's what Councilmember Hitchen was telling me. We're both tracking it pretty closely. And really
that has
appreciate the skinning down because, frankly, the rural separator, Midland, we're not going to put a mega city that's twice the size of Tacoma next to Tacoma. That's just not happening.
okay. So if it is specifically just the Parkland area, then
that is my understanding. Now, I don't have the map of what they consider Parkland or any of that, but
okay.
And whether or not that touches some of the rural acreage towards our southern end, that could be. So stay engaged and involved, but my understanding is it's been roped way back in.
Well, that is good to know because that's not what I got from the emails. Although there was specific mention of Parkland. I'm like, yeah, well, that's because Representative Morgan lives in Parkland. That's probably what they're just calling it. I just dismissed that thinking this is bigger than just Parkland people. And that's why that's why the list of interested parties was so big. It wasn't just people in Parkland. So well, that's good clarification.
Yeah, because the amount of stuff, the amount of what you have in common with people in other than we're in Pierce County, but Frederickson, Spanaway, and some of Waller have extremely different needs.
Yeah.
That would be very taxing for a city to try to meet all these needs. Trust me, that's my job now.
Yeah.
If I may.
Yeah.
A couple things. Marty, I hope you are correct. But when I look in this so-called Parkland plan, when you read through it, it does list the areas, and one of the areas is Summit Waller. Okay.
Yeah, my understanding is something that's come down in the last couple of weeks. So
okay,
I will check in with Councilmember Hitchen and see if I can get the latest copy of what she's got that says what the new parameters are.
Could you get that to us if you would, please?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I want to have a little rant here. 20 seconds. Pierce County does an excellent job of maintaining roads, police, in Pierce County. I mean, look at the city of Tacoma. I mean, go across 64th Street. The city of Tacoma has the worst streets and roads in the entire state of Washington. And I think Pierce County is providing excellent roads, maintenance. I mean, they've got the best equipment, the best crews. If you look at the roads in Pierce County, you don't want to chop that up with municipalities that, where they lose the tax base and pretty soon everything looks like the city of Tacoma. That's my rant.
I know South Hill's looking at it, incorporating into their own city, which they would be the like 5th largest city in the state of Washington if they did.
Yeah, Mayor Zeiger.
Well, not anymore. He lives in Philadelphia now.
He will.
Yeah. Parkland and or Spanaway are kind of looking at their own incorporations. Browns Point, Dash Point kind of looking at it. So those are kind of some areas that are looking at it now. I mean, and I always encourage everyone to, take self-governance into their, not in their own hands, but I will never discourage someone from exploring, looking at their own incorporation. But I will encourage them to put everything on the table and to understand what they're possibly getting into.
My last comment, Angela, I think we need to keep focused on this. Even though we're off the table, I think we need to submit the information anyway, just to be involved in that study, to further clarify, along with the city of Tacoma study they did years ago, the Pierce County Council, the Tom Ballard report. They've all confirmed that real separators there for a reason, not political, but because of the lay of the land and so forth. And if we could be part of this study that's going on now, that even in a footnote, it mentions somewhat while a real separator, Tom Ballard, I think it's something we need to have on our shelf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else? Don,
I move to adjourn.
I move second.
wait, was Don moving to adjourn first before Gabe spoke up, or did he have a question?
I gotta go.
Okay, do we have a second then?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Let's do it.
I'll abstain.
All right, meeting adjourned at 8:30.